Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hideaway Homestead. I'm Mike, and on this week's episode, I'm going to be doing some maintenance on my Husqvarna chainsaws. I have a 455 Rancher and I have a 120. I use the 120 for limbing and kind of smaller chores, but it definitely can work just as hard as this 455. The 455 has had some issues with the primer bulb. There's a spring that kind of broke on the inside, so I need to replace that out. And then I'm having some idling and some RPM issues with the 120, so I need to do a carburetor adjustment and adjust the throttle. If you like today's episode, please consider clicking like down below. And if you like the content that we put out each week, consider hitting subscribe. We do different things around the house. We do maintenance videos, we do gardening, preserving, self-sufficiency. Pretty much you name it here on the homestead, we're doing it. But let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and work on the Rancher. And the issue I have is that there's a kind of a small spring that sits down inside the primer bulb. And let me see if I can't get that up here for you to see. So down in here, there's kind of a spring that's sitting in there that seems to have come loose and kind of dislodged itself. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to replace that. Now, I went on Amazon and I bought like 10 of these replacement bulbs for maybe as much $1 a bulb. It was like maybe $9, $10. So I definitely have some replacements. It's good because these things tend to dry rot. They tend to wear out fast. They do have gasoline in them, so that helps contribute to that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the casing. All right, and that came off pretty easy. I'm going to pull this little clamp back. And I'm going to take off the old air filter. Okay, so where the primer bulb is sitting, there's kind of this little clip sitting here behind it that's holding it in place. So this is where it's useful if you have some needle nose or some other kind of pliers to sit there and maybe pull that together. And that helps pull that apart. Now there's two hoses back here for the fuel to go in and for the fuel to come out. So you're going to want to detach those hoses carefully from the back. Let's see if I can't turn this a little bit better for you. So you're going to want to detach these hoses carefully from the back. And I'm going to remember that that was in the top. All right, and then this guy here was in the bottom. Something to note is that the top part of the bulb is the longer one, and then you have this short one here for the bottom. Here is the replacement, and you can see the it looks exactly the same. We're going to go ahead and put it in through the back here like this. Okay, so that just clipped back in. And then we're going to take this bottom hose and put it back on the bottom where it belongs. And we just kind of push it on there, make sure it's nice and snug and tight. All right, and then we're going to take this top one and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to push it on here and make it nice and snug. And And that is it. Your primer bulb has now been replaced. And let me see if I can't show you this a little bit better this time. Yeah, so you can see there's like a spring that's in here that seems to have come undone. It's kind of loose. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put this air filter back on. And that just sits right over top of the carburetor, and this clip comes back on to hold it in place. And then we just have to put our casing back on. I noticed my chain's a little loose on here too. Okay, so it's a little looser than I would like. So I'm just gonna tighten that up a little bit. And the way to do this is you could just come in here and kind of loosen these bolts a little bit. Okay. And then you just use this to tension it. All right, so I'm gonna go, yep, there we go. Let's see if that priming bulb is doing its job. Oh, and there's the fuel. And it is working perfectly. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move the pull cord out of the way. Just pull it down a little bit and out of the way so that I can kind of show you all how this works. Now, the first thing that you're gonna have to do is you're gonna definitely have to buy a carburetor adjustment tool. I found this really nice kit on Amazon. It was not very expensive, and they have carburetor adjustment tools for pretty much everything. I went ahead and marked my the one that I used for the Husqvarna off. Okay, but what we have here is we're really going to have your idle hole, and then you're going to also have a low and a high. All right, so for the carburetor, this one in particular is having some issues. It's idling really low. And also, while I was doing some limbing, I noticed it wasn't getting enough power or RPMs to actually go through the wood. Once it was under load, it was starting to have issues. So what I want to do here is I'm going to adjust my low all the way to the right. So I'm going to turn it until it's tight, and I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I'm going to do that for the high as well. And again, you put the tool in, you'll feel it kind of seat in there. So these are completely to the right now, and the gasoline to the carburetor is completely shut off. So you're going to want to look at your tool and figure out kind of like a clock. So I'm going to set this in here. Okay, so it's seated right now with the word on my tool pointing up. So I'm going to do a full turn, so that's all the way around, okay, counterclockwise, and then I'm going to do a quarter turn. All right, I'm going to do the same thing here on the low. I'm going to find out where it seats. Okay, so in this case, on low, it's seating with the logo facing down. Same thing, I'm going to go do a full turn. So I'm going all the way around. All right, and then I'm going to do a quarter. That is going to serve as kind of a baseline for me for the chainsaw. Now for this next part, I don't want to be in the workshop. I'm going to go outside. We're going to fire it up, and we're going to make adjustments to it while the chainsaw is running. So let's go. All right, so this next part's going to be kind of loud probably, but I'm going to go ahead and try to start doing these adjustments. I do have my safety protection on, but I don't have any protection on my ears because actually I need to listen to the chainsaw to make sure that the idle and the throttle and the, you know, carburetor, just really everything is doing the RPMs, and it's sounding the way that it really should. And for those of you who own a chainsaw, you kind of know what it's supposed to sound like, right? Like, it's not supposed to sound stuttery, or anything like that. That's definitely not the sound we're looking for. We also don't want it being too loud, like it's running hard, because that'll definitely blow the pistons out, and you'll be looking at getting yourself a new carburetor. All right, so let's go ahead and prime this up. I do want the chain to be able to move, so I can keep an eye on that as well. And pull the throttle out. You can see where it's wanting to just turn off on me. Let's try this again. And see, and that's part of the problem with it. So let's get that low. Do a half a turn on the high. So I'm going to go another quarter. And another quarter. So now it's throttling up a little too high, so I'm going to dial the, I'm pretty sure I got the RPMs right where I want them, right? It's not doing the and stuttering out, but it's idling too fast now. You can tell because the chain's still running even after I gave it a little bit of gas. So again, I'm just going to keep dialing it back until we get it to a happy place. And there you have it. So it's idling. And I'm going to tweak it up just a little bit higher, because it did seem like when I was letting off the gas, it was, you know, getting ready to stutter a little bit, but not much. I'm just going to go up a little on here, and we'll give it one more shot. That's perfect. All right, this thing is working like a champ now. All right, well, that is it. You saw how easy it was, and it was really easy to replace the primer bulb, and that's working great. And you saw just how easy it is to just do a carburetor adjustment. You just got to listen, keep tweaking it, and then you'll eventually get it to that sweet spot. So I'm going to go ahead and call this job done. I'm probably going to go head out and do some actual cutting now. I'll see you all again next week. Make time for dirt time.